Hey, what's up? Welcome back to another post-fight show on the Mandatory. Remember, if you like the content, hit that like and subscribe button. Shout out to everybody that already has. And if you haven't, please do. It helps the channel grow. Thanks so much for hanging out with us on this very late Saturday. If you're on the East Coast, it's already Sunday morning, essentially. So we do appreciate you rocking with us. You can also follow us as well at the Mandatory TKO. And you can find us on the audio side as well. So make sure wherever you get your shows, podcasts, find us on there and leave a rate and review. Maybe give us a 5-star. Lots to get into. Crazy fight weekend, crazy sports weekend. But we are going to get into what we just saw between Navarrete and Oscar Valdez. I think the biggest question coming out of that one, is it time for Oscar Valdez to retire? We are also going to get into that wacky ending, I guess you could say. But nonetheless, I told y'all to bet on Rafael Espinoza, just saying.
Yes,
All
you
right.
did.
I was definitely like, yo, bet on him. And there were some good odds there. So if you did, you're welcome. But Rafael Espinoza wins by TKO. But Robeisy Ramirez, we're going to get into it. Just a weird ending. He pretty much stopped fighting. And we're going to get into all of that. Please keep the comments coming. But Bryan, I think we have to start off with the fight that was earlier. And it was at 140 pounds. And I feel like it was a pretty 50-50 fight going into it. But Richardson Hitchins from your stomping grounds in New York, you've covered him for an extremely long time out there.
Yes.
He gets it done against Liam Paro in Puerto Rico. Of course, that's also, you're Puerto Rican. Jake Paul's Puerto Rican. I know, I have to throw that in there. I'm sorry, but I still think it's funny. We are getting into that. Also, Jesus, a good friend of our show, is already leaving comments before the show even started. Jesus, we were laughing about it before he went on because you were bringing some heat. We are going to read out all of your comments, so keep them coming. But Bryan, let's start off with that because I think it's probably one of the most interesting storylines. Richardson Hitchins dominated in that fight in the second half. There was a scorecard that was 117-111 to Liam Paro, and I was like, what the hell was
outrageous.
That? Oh my God. But the right guy won. Your thoughts on what we saw between him and Liam Paro?
I thought Richardson Hitchins was down 3-1, and I was like, okay, he needs to actually start putting some punches together, start putting some combinations together, because he was falling into the trap of I'm going to be super conservative. I'm going to just look for spots to counter. And Liam Paro was able to get off early. And Richardson Hitchins didn't lose another round after that. I felt like he swept 5 through 12. So I had it 117-111. I had it even wider than two of the judges did. That had it 116-112 for him. I suppose you could find a round between 5 through 12 for Liam Paro. I don't think 116-112 is outrageous. I think 117-111 for Liam Paro is one of the worst scorecards of the year. This is the Richardson Hitchins that we were promised, as I posted on Twitter and Blue Sky, because we got to do both now apparently. But this is the Richardson Hitchins we were promised: somebody who can counterpunch, somebody who can really put punches together, but also somebody who can be aggressive. And in this particular fight, he was able to control, as the broadcast said, the center of the ring, but not even just that, but was able to have Liam Paro retreating and trying to fight off his back foot, which he couldn't do successfully. When Richardson Hitchins was the aggressor, he found a lot of success. And I feel like he doesn't need to be one of these guys who just looks to counter and just looks to be defensive. Yes, do that in spurts, but he could also be the aggressor. Not to say that he's going to finish guys and be powerful enough to do that or whatever. There's, some sting on these straight right hands, but what he is he's very quick and he's very accurate. And I think that's what really won him this fight, is he was able to continually land that straight right hand. He landed a lot of left hooks, and he out-jabbed Liam Paro southpaw too. So I was really impressed with his performance, and that's the kind of performance that I was sort of hinting at him having the ability of putting together. I live bet him plus 130 by decision after the 5th round, where I felt like, okay, I feel like he figured it out and he's starting to turn it. And obviously that cashed because he really did figure it out.
Yeah, so I thought that was the most impressive part about the fight, because as a fighter, you know that you're growing as a fighter once you make those adjustments. Because as you know, in Richardson Hitchins' last fight, he didn't look good. I think some people could argue that he even lost that fight. But going back to this one against Liam Paro, I had Liam Paro after 4 rounds. I had Liam Paro up 3-1. And then I feel like Richardson Hitchins just kind of took over from there. I actually scored it 116-112 for Richardson Hitchins. And I said, if Richardson Hitchins is able to keep the distance, he's going to counterpunch you, and he's going to be able to throw. If he gets busy and lets his hands go, it's going to be a tough night for Liam Paro, because what did Richardson Hitchins do midway through? He started controlling the pace of this fight. And that's where also I think things kind of went left for Liam Paro. He couldn't really get into a rhythm after Richardson Hitchins was moving along. I mean, he still had some spurts where he was fighting really well, but Liam Paro, after a great performance, this is why 140 is so interesting. After a great performance of beating Subriel Matias in Puerto Rico, he loses against Richardson Hitchins. And I think a lot of people had Liam Paro winning. I thought Liam Paro would be able to get it done by decision, but Hitchins just turned it up, and he was frustrating Liam Paro. Like, you could tell Liam Paro was actually frustrated because he couldn't essentially really close the gap and really get into a rhythm during this fight in the second half of the fight. Listen, Brian and I were talking on WhatsApp earlier, because I want to go to this comment that I just saw, and it's from one of our good friends of the show, Hustle Man. Brian said a comment, and we are going to get into that and break it all down, but he texted me on WhatsApp and was like, yo, I think I'm going to slide Richardson Hitchins in my top 5. And I was like, oh, that's cool.
At
No, but
140, at 140, not
yeah,
yeah. Just so people think I'm not getting too crazy.
yeah. And I was like, yo, that's cool. I just don't really like his style. Like, I think he's a great fighter. I don't really like his style. Hustle Man, Hitchins won, but his fighting style is boring. I thought Liam Paro should have pressed him all night instead of fighting mid-long range. I think if Liam Paro was able to control the pace throughout the entire fight and close that distance and really land on Hitchins, then he could have won the fight. But the thing was, Hitchins started to throw a little bit more. Like, I do think his style is a little bit boring, but it's effective and he's efficient. So when he's able to still, use his counterpunching, he's got that crazy reach, so he's able to land the right hand. Like, he has a skill set that I feel like would be so tough to beat for any guy, because he's good defensively, and then when he starts letting his hands go, there is a little bit of pop that he has. Like, I know people are saying like, yo, he doesn't have any power, but there's a little bit of pop in those punches, and you could see it. So very impressive win for a guy like Richardson Hitchins. By the way, if you donate to the show, guys, we go straight to your comments. So
Yes.
shut up right now. Let's go to our good friend Al the Pal, who just donated $10. Just cause, Al the
Just
Pal, we
us. We
appreciate
love that.
you.
We love
Yeah,
that.
thank you for supporting the show. We've seen you obviously support us on these post-fight shows, on our live shows during the week. So thank you so much for doing that. But Brian, like, you have him possibly sliding top 5 at 140.
Can you name 5 better at 140 right now? I know you don't like his style, which I think that's also like maybe a discussion point. To me, like I get not liking the style in totality. Today,
Well,
though, is not really. I think today he was. I think that was entertaining. To me, it was an entertaining boxing display. Like, it was just high level shit. He just basically
yeah.
he put Liam Paro in his place after the 4th round. Just completely like took the champion out of it, and he was being the aggressor. It's not like he was sitting back and waiting the entire time. Like, again, he was out jabbing a southpaw. Some of the things he was doing in there was fascinating. He continued to get the positioning to land that straight right hand over and over and over again. I kind of think Liam Paro is to blame if you think that fight was boring, because Liam Paro wasn't figuring shit out. Like, whatever
I don't
adjustments
think
he was trying to
I,
make, he couldn't make them.
I don't think it was a boring fight because I was entertained. I just think his style is boring. Like, the first 4 rounds, I could have died if it wasn't for Liam Paro. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's how boring the first
I
5 rounds
disagree.
was to me.
I
Like,
disagree.
I don't know, because he didn't do much in those first 4 rounds. He didn't do much. Liam Paro was controlling the pace. He was being the one that was coming forward. I think Richardson Hitchins is a great fighter. Like, if you like that style, that's cool. Like, I'm not gonna take anything away from him. Do I prefer sitting on my couch and watching it? Probably not. Right? Like, that's my own personal opinion. But if you know the fight style that I like, we know in boxing they
Emanuel
always tell you
Navarrete versus Oscar Valdez.
that's my type of fight, right? Like that's
Yeah, but
actually like I
yeah,
know
but
it's but here's the thing. Let me finish. Like let me
go
finish, and
ahead,
then you'll
go
get your
ahead,
part.
go ahead.
The only thing I'm gonna say is in boxing, like when you actually box, they tell you the job is to hit and not get hit. Right? Like that's literally what they tell you. It's not my personal style. That's not personally how I fight, but I'm just saying like he's a
Hit
great
and get hit.
fighter. Yeah, I hit and get hit. Even on undisputed, hit and get hit all day. Um, but yeah, like I just it's not my personal favorite style to watch. That's not taking anything away from him, but I think a lot of people would kind of agree that his fight style is boring. But that's just, that's subjective. That's subjective. I don't know how I should say.
It seems a little caveman for me. Like I'm like, if the objective is to hit and not get hit, I
But
mean,
not
look,
everyone likes that style.
and I get there's a way to do that and make it interesting.
And I think he
There's a
did
way.
that. I think he had spurts of that when he started to let his hands go a little bit more. And you're like, whoa, I could see how he could be really difficult to fight in this division. Like,
Yeah,
that's a
like
style that you probably don't want to see in this division, right? Like, he would be a tough fight. But it's just, I liked it when he turned it up and he was throwing his hands a little bit more rather than keeping it safe. That's all.
I think the bigger thing here is like this is an impressive development from what we saw in the Gustavo Lemos fight. If you want to criticize him for that performance, I'm all for it because he probably got a decision he didn't fully deserve in that fight. And that was a fight where he was being too conservative and wasn't letting his hands go. And with some of these fighters who do have this defensive style, I think they have room to take more chances, which is what impressed me today is because he was actually doing it. Like he figured it out after 4 rounds of like losing really the first, I'd say 3 of the first 4 rounds. He figured it out and was putting these shots together and was doing it in a way that I don't think was boring because he was being assertive. And Liam Paro was the one who really wasn't figuring it out. After he
But
figured out
he
Subriel
got
Matias,
assertive. He got assertive after the 4 rounds, though.
yeah, no, yeah, but like it
But
takes a
that's
while for some people. Like,
yeah, it's for some people to figure out. But that's what I was saying. Like, he was a little bit too conservative for me. And then I thought about his last fight, and I was
mhm,
just like, what am I watching here? Like, is this going to be the same thing as his last fight? So I was irritated because I wanted it to be
yeah,
like the second half of the fight. So when I said like I could have died watching the first 4 rounds because I knew I
yeah,
was never going to get that time back because I just watched him have another fight in his last fight, and I was bored out of my mind.
yeah.
You know what I
I
mean?
think
So that's why I was like, yo, like, I hope it's not like that. But then when he started to let his hands go more after Edgar Berlanga got in his ear, right? It got entertaining. And I was like, okay, yeah, this is a good fight.
we'll go to Hustle Man's comment here now. If you want to talk about boring, this is a fight that a lot of people would think would be boring. Hustle Man, I think Haney beats Hitchens easy, to be honest. Um,
So let's go. Before we go get into the rest of the comments, you said you slide him into the top five. He has a belt now. So I could see why you would do that. But who do you have in your top five at 140?
are we still counting Devin Haney?
Yeah, I would. I would
Okay,
put him in there. Yeah.
he's still okay. Teofimo's number one, obviously. The rest I'm not gonna put in order necessarily, but I mean he's ahead of Liam Paro now, Richardson Hitchins. He's ahead of Subriel Matias now. I mean, kind of
Yeah.
like boxing math or whatever the case would be. And honestly, if they did fight, I would probably lean Richardson Hitchins, and he probably would be more conservative in that bout because I mean, who we'd be fighting against. But I think he can do what Liam Paro did essentially against them, which could be dangerous. And like, I mean, I know you would take Arnold Barbosa over Richardson Hitchens. I don't know if I would. I don't know if I would. I
Are
like
we being biased to Rico's right now? Or is that what we're doing?
like yeah, I mean Richardson Hitchens has a lot of talent. I think a fight with him and Arnold Barbosa would be an interesting chess match. I do wonder how that would go. I feel comfortable saying though that at this point Arnold Barbosa, given what I saw against Jose Ramirez, would beat Liam Paro, and I would say Richardson Hitchens would beat Jose Ramirez. So I would say that those are probably guys on the same tier. And ultimately, we'll see with Arnold Barbosa if he beats Jack Catterall. I feel like the winner of that fight is absolutely going to have claim to a top 5 spot, and you could argue that both of them are already.
Okay.
Um,
But you're being mad political right now. Like you're being very political with your
Okay.
top 5.
How about
I want you to not be political with your top 5.
Okay.
Are you sliding Richardson Hitchins in there when you look at the top 5 at
Teofimo
140
Lopez.
pounds?
I'll give you 5 right now. Teofimo Lopez. No order. Teofimo Lopez. Devin Haney. We can throw Jack Catterall in there. We can throw Richardson Hitchins in there. And I guess I'm going to go Jose Valenzuela because he has the other title. But I think I would lean
That's
Hitchins.
you. That's your non-political list. Like this is who you just think is the best at 140 pounds. Top
I would
5.
lean Hitchins slightly over Arnold Barbosa. I mean, you could say Richardson Hitchins got a gift against Lemos. I think Barbosa got more of a gift against, McCombs in this other fight. So
everyone has that questionable fight on their resume.
Barbosa's right. Barbosa's and Hitchins are right there. I could tie them for 5 if I want to. I think that would be fair at this point too. But Hitchins does have a title, so Barbosa doesn't. And he beat Liam Paro, not in Liam Paro's backyard, but in a place that he got very familiar with. So that's where I'm at.
Okay, I could see that, but I'm not being political with the list. Like if I'm looking at this list, I'm not going with the champions. Like if you know what I mean. Like if I'm being political, then I
didn't name Alberto Puello.
Yeah, I know you didn't. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Who could be? Do you think Arnold Barbosa beats him? You probably do, right?
Who?
Alberto Puello. Yeah,
that's a tough fight. Yeah, but yeah, I'm gonna ride with Barbosa. What do you mean? Okay, so I would go with Devin Haney, obviously. Teofimo Lopez, number 1.
Isaac Cruz.
No, I'm not putting Isaac Cruz.
Not on my list either. Okay,
he's not. I'm sorry. I think he's very one-dimensional, and it's not to say it's not entertaining because I do like that fight style, but I just think that other people have another skill set in their arsenal or whatever, and I think there's other fighters that are better than Isaac Cruz at 140 pounds. I'd put Devin Haney. Teofimo Lopez, Devin Haney. That's the top 2 for sure. It's hard to. I got Arnold Barbosa in there in no order from 3 to 5.
Perfectly fine.
Jack Catterall.
Yeah.
He would have to be in there.
Yeah.
And in my 5th one, I think I might put Jose Valenzuela.
Okay. I had
in there. So I don't have Richardson Hitchins in there.
Did you have Liam Paro before this fight? Because I did. I would have.
I had him slipping in right. Yeah, because that win against Subriel Matias in Puerto Rico.
Right.
To me, that was one of the best wins this year because I didn't expect it. I thought Subriel Matias was the boogeyman, and to do it in his backyard in Puerto Rico, I still can't believe that happened. I wanted at least a robbery there.
That's where Hitchins gets into the top 5 for me. Is he beat Liam Paro, who I had up there because what he did against Subriel Matias, who also was previously top 5.
Okay, can I be honest with you? When that fight happened, there were other fights going on at the same time. Was it Teofimo Lopez and Steve Claggett? Was it that weekend? No, it wasn't. I don't remember what weekend it was, but I remember seeing that fight, and I knew Liam Paro won, and I was like, "It's okay. They're gonna rob him anyways."
Was David Benavidez fighting that night? Maybe
I don't know, but it was a crazy fight night, and I couldn't fully watch the fight because there was too many fights going on, which is why I loved that there was a college football game because we got to see all 3 fights, right after another. They didn't really overlap.
I'm gonna figure this out right now.
Yeah.
Keep talking as I figure it out, though.
Okay. Anyways, so if you're in the chat,
I was
let
right.
us know.
It was David Benavidez,
okay.
Vosdick, Tank Davis, Frank Martin. It was that card.
Yeah.
In the MGM Grand in Vegas, and there may have also been another maybe ESPN had something also. Not boxing. It might have even been MMA, but I feel like there was something else going on too. But whatever.
Yeah. Let's get to some comments. By the way, guys, please leave your top 5 who you have at 140 pounds because we will read it out. And obviously, if you got something a little bit different. Okay, so Hustleman said Teofimo Lopez, Haney, Jose Valenzuela, Hitchins, and Catterall. I wouldn't.
That's what I have. That's what I have. Not in that order. Although I don't know if I had to put it in order, I'll just put it in order. Teofimo Lopez. I'll still put Haney second. I'll have Catterall third. I mean, the wins over Josh Taylor and, Regis Prograis, come on. I'm not sure, who do you think wins between Hitchins and Valenzuela right now? I feel like a lot of people would say Valenzuela.
I'm taking Valenzuela in that fight. But if Richardson Hitchins fights like how he did in the second half of the fight and throws his hands more like how he did, like he's a fighter I don't think people would want to see in the ring. Like I think his style is frustrating. His style is frustrating, and I don't think. And he's also one of those fighters, and I hate to say it is he's never going to get credit for his style. He's not going to,
unless he beats like
Devin
a Teofimo Lopez or Devin Haney. Probably more so a Teofimo Lopez because Devin Haney's not explosive like Teofimo Lopez.
I think he would frustrate Teofimo Lopez. Like I think that's a fight Teo maybe wouldn't want. I think Teo looks at 140 and is like, I'd rather fight Arnold Barbosa.
We keep talking about this weight class like every few weeks about how messy it is. And again, we have another title change in this goddamn weight class where somebody wins a title and they can't defend it successfully because everyone in this weight class is good. Like we're talking about top fives. If you name a top 10 and you keep going down the list, you would have Barbosa in your top 5. So he would obviously be.
I already have him in my top 5 because I kind of had him and Jose Ramirez at like the 5th spot. And then the way that he beat Jose Ramirez, I was like, yo, I'm going to,
Subriel Matias, Liam Paro, Jose Ramirez, Lindolfo Delgado, who
great performance tonight.
We got a comment about, had a big win this weekend, tonight.
It's the next day. It was actually Al the Pal who donated to the show, you guys.
Yes.
Damn, Delgado did his thing. He needs a bigger fight. Yeah, I agree. I think it's time that he gets a big fight.
Alberto Puello, Isaac Cruz, Gary Antoine Russell, like there's so many names in this weight class that are problems, like legitimate problems. Andy Hirooka also, like who's not probably getting enough credit, although we need to see him like very soon, hopefully, and against some serious competition. But like this weight class has some dogs, man. 140 is tough because I don't think there's an overwhelmingly like this person would whoop everyone's ass the way I felt about maybe the height of welterweight recently where it was Crawford Spence. I feel like it was them and everybody else. I feel like Teofimo Lopez is probably levitating above this weight class, but I can't confidently tell you he would definitively beat everyone in this weight class because we've seen him be inconsistent at 140.
I think anyone can beat anybody in this weight class. Like that's how good it is.
Yeah.
It's a mess and I love it. I think it's one of the most exciting, if not the most exciting weight class right now in boxing. Arlanda, thanks so much for dropping your top 5 at 140 pounds. He's got Teofimo Lopez, Catterall, Haney. Yeah. So a lot of people are going with that narrative. So keep on continuing to drop your top 5 at 140 pounds.
I like this comment from Marlon2631. Every style should be appreciated.
I agree, but like it won't be, unfortunately. I'm just keeping it real.
No, it's so true though. It's like I agree, Marlon, because I
agree. That's a great comment. It should, because it's like everyone's style is so different and it can frustrate other opponents. But to regular people that don't watch a lot of boxing or maybe like to watch boxing for action, like tonight was a pretty good action fight against Navarrete and Valdez, depending on what style you like, you might not necessarily want to spend 45 minutes on the couch watching that style.
Right.
You might not. And some of the biggest boxing fans, don't like to watch that style sometimes. So it's like this. This is how I look at it. In football, I love a good defensive game. Like 3-0. Ooh, like I love that.
I like it in basketball.
People hate that. People hate that. I forgot what Super Bowl it was. And it was like a defensive battle in the first half. And people were like, oh, this Super Bowl sucks. I was loving it. I could not get enough of it. So it's like, it's the same thing with boxing. Bryan, any final thoughts before we get out of here? I mean, we could talk about what's next for Richardson Hitchins.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's do that before we get to the ESPN card, because there's a lot to get to in general and also on the ESPN card. And before we do that, I do want to shout out a couple of things from this card because it was in Puerto Rico. So, we gotta represent a little bit because there were some fun fights on that card. Honestly, very good boxing weekend. By the way, very good boxing weekend. We won't even have time to get to like Kubrat Pulev, apparently.
Yeah, he did his thing. He did his thing.
Like there was a card in the UK also. Lawrence Collier gets another knockout. Like a lot of shit going on, but good weekend for boxing overall. Who should Richardson Hitchins defend his title against first? One, I'm hoping that it's here, Barclays Center. He's from Brooklyn. MSG Theater, hopefully not, but I could see that too, even though that venue is and they're probably not going to get the Garden necessarily. I mean, he won't be the main event if that's the case, no disrespect. But Barclays Center, I think that would be great. But if that's the case, I don't think he's gonna get one of the like super super top flight challengers. Although I'd like to see him fight Alberto Puello at a unification. Why not? That seems feasible to me.
Yeah, I think that's a good fight. I don't think that's a fight where everyone's like, "Whoa, I gotta go check that out." You know,
I know, no,
let
I
me
know.
not go out
I get
tonight.
it.
I want to see Richardson Hitchins in like in a bigger fight. Even though Puello he has a belt,
Just
and
to unify.
I think he's also underrated in this weight class. Like when we just listed the names, like no one's really mentioned him, but like no, he's underrated in this weight class. To be honest with you, like I think we know that Barbosa and Catterall, like it seems like they're going to be fighting each other, and then the winner will get a title shot. So let's just take them out of the picture here.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would probably want to see Jose Valenzuela and Richardson Hitchins. I think that would be my pick, and I think you could do that in Vegas or you could do it in Arizona.
Why does it have to be on the West Coast?
Because I said so. Okay, because I said so, Brian. I mean, listen, he could do it in New York, and I think you guys would eat it up. But
but if it's a unification, it should be neutral site, which means they'll put it in Saudi
Vegas.
Arabia.
Oh my God. Okay. I'm like Vegas. No. I mean, I also think, and I don't think this will happen, but because they're both New Yorkers, I mean, I don't know if he would classify Teofimo Lopez as someone from Florida, but would he fight a guy like, would you like a fight between Teofimo Lopez and Richardson Hitchins?
Yes.
I think that's a great fight. I think it's a tough fight for Teo, but if Teo was to beat him, like he would have another tough name on his resume. And if Richardson Hitchins was able to beat him, dude, that changes everything. I think that could possibly be at MSG, not the theater, Ryan. That could be at MSG. And I think that's a massive fight because Teofimo Lopez, he said something, but boxers say a lot of things.
I thought he should have fought Josh Taylor at the Garden, and so did he, but they got the theater. So I think this one would also be in the theater or Barclays. Honestly.
He said that he wanted to fight. I don't know where I saw this. Maybe it was like on. Oh yeah, wait. I know where it was. Let me just find it. He gave a list of people because he was at the Oscar Valdez and Navarrete bout, and he said that he wanted to fight Tank and Bud Crawford, and that he would also fight Jerome Boots Ennis.
Yeah, he doesn't. That tells me Richardson Hitchins. He's not fighting Richardson Hitchins.
Yeah, I think
risky opponent. Not a ton of money compared to who he's naming. He's been trying to get like a super fight for a while now.
Yes. I think so. Yeah.
I like this comment from Ryan Hong. Just fuck.
Ryan Hong, who's a good friend of the show, has also predicted some upsets. Ryan, who did you have in this fight? Did you take Liam Paro or did you take Richardson Hitchins? Because I think
looks like he's pissed at Liam Paro. I don't know if he bet on Liam Paro and then Liam Paro didn't get it done for him.
Yeah.
I think Al's trolling the other person in the chat.
I think Al. Yeah, we had a troll in the chat.
Marlon 2631 Haney versus Hitchins. They have history. I don't think Haney. Listen, Haney. After what we saw, this is not the first fight you want back. Like you want a clear victory. Oh Jesus, this hurt my chest. 2K. See, as somebody who does gambling content for one of his jobs, I don't bet that much on fights. I can't do it because I can't deal with the potential loss, especially when it's up to another person. I just can't.
No,
but respect, that's. I hope you could afford it.
And Ryan, now as someone that gambles quite often, you'll make it back. So
also true.
You will
verify
make it back.
That. Yes, bowl season is upon us.
Exactly. Yeah. So Brian, I think there's some possible fights here for Richardson Hitchins, but nonetheless, a great performance from him. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens now in this weight class. Also, guys, if you're watching this later, make sure to drop some comments. We will read them. We always read all your comments. We might not get back to all of them, but we're going to try extra hard this month.
Donations.
Yes.
Gifts. Donations.
Donations help us, guys. Thanks. We could do this more if we had more donations. Shout out to Al the Pal who donated. Yeah. Brian, any final thoughts before we move away from this?
We need to get the top right card.
Yes.
Sorry. Actually, I did mention Stephanie Pinheiro got it done again. I think she's going to be potential like fighting for a title in 2025. Henry LeBron versus Christopher Pitufo Diaz. Really
That was
fun
a tough
fight.
fight. Tough
Yeah.
fight, yo, for Henry LeBron, but he got it done.
Yeah, I thought he almost gave it away because he was getting hit a lot toward the end. Good to know Christopher Diaz still has something in the gas tank. We'll see if he continues after this. But that was a fun ass fight. We also saw a couple upsets. Jaleel Hackett lost. Mark Castro lost. A couple undefeated fighters in tough fights they lost. And you texted me about this dude, which I was excited about because we've been talking about him. Yankiel Rivera. I mean,
Going to be a
sensational
problem at
performance.
112 pounds, man.
Yes.
This guy put on a great performance, a statement victory.
Yes.
And I think we're going to be hearing his name for a pretty long time.
Yes.
It's a very, very interesting division as well. So yeah, I think this is a name that at 112 pounds that I'm like might be one of the scariest in that division right now.
I think in 2027 or something, we get Yankiel Rivera and Bam Rodriguez. I don't know what weight.
Oh my God.
but,
I would have to be at that fight.
That's the Puerto Rico versus Mexico of like that sort of that weight class area. I don't know what weight that would be. Maybe 118, something like that.
Probably 118.
Yeah. Yankiel would obviously have to move up by then, but easier to move up when you're like that low in the totem pole in terms of weight.
Yeah.
Like Inoue did it and he was tearing through everybody. But Inoue's also like he's different. We'll be talking about him in a couple weeks.
Yeah, we might mention him actually today for no reason later on because we're going to get to 126 pounds, Brian, because we saw a really weird ending. But nonetheless, Rafael Espinoza, I told you guys he was going to win. He gets the victory, but not in the way that I really expected it. He gets the TKO victory in the 6th round. Now, Ramirez actually started off this fight, and I love the level changing. He was making it very difficult for Espinoza. And I was like, yo, I like this game plan. This is such an interesting fight. I believe they were saying in the 4th round, there was an elbow that hit Ramirez.
Apparently.
There was an elbow. And he said that he told the refs that, yo, he keeps hitting me with an elbow. But this was also a narrative that was going into the fight that, yo, he's like hitting with his elbows and all that stuff. And then here comes the 6th round. I'm not fighting anymore.
After one shot. Yeah.
That's pretty much what happened. Brian, your thoughts on what we saw? And if you have comments, guys, drop the comments because there's a narrative going on right now that Robeisy Ramirez quit.
I still need to see the elbow. There was one punch on the replay that somebody posted on Twitter, David Griezmann, where he says, like, this is the 5th round and it shows Robeisy Ramirez recoiling and complaining. But it also looks to me like he was recoiling from a short uppercut before any elbow followed through. Hard to tell. And it looks like Rafael Espinoza just throws an uppercut and may have hit like this forearm area in round 5 on Jose Ramirez because still stuck in 140 land and Robeisy Ramirez. It's tough to tell. I mean, but there wasn't anything flagrant. Like, I feel like if it was, we would have seen it already because the fight was on ESPN. Like, you can actually like go back and look for this clip. So not seeing it yet. Don't know if it was actually an elbow, but clearly his eye was pretty messed up. I'm not gonna throw dirt on Robeisy Ramirez's name. I'm not gonna do that. At the end of the day, he's a professional boxer. He's tough as shit. But I mean, Rafael Espinoza was also heating up at the time that he got this, what is technically a stoppage victory. Not sure that he actually would have ended up stopping him, whatever the case may be, but it's tough to say. But Rafael Espinoza, I mean, we said it before the fight, although we didn't expect it to end like this. You did think that a stoppage was possible, and we looked at the line and we were like, how is he plus money after what we saw the first time around? Rafael Espinoza is a problem because he has size, he hits you from interesting angles, and he pressures you at that fight. Like he does what Sebastian Fundora does, but I feel like he does it better. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of what I was thinking as I was watching this.
Way better. I think Rafael Espinoza, when we look at his IQ, I love the way that he boxes and he's fun to watch and he's not ever going to give up. And I think that was the narrative. And as for Ramirez, I know everyone the narrative is always like, yo, boxing is like a real man sport, real woman sport as well, whatever, whatever you want to say. Like you got to be tough to obviously box. And I'm never, just like you, Brian, I'm not going to say he wasn't being tough in that moment because we don't actually know. Like, it's one thing to like not even be in the ring and go through that, right? Like, we don't know what he was feeling. We don't know if he was concussed. Like, I know there's been fighters that will fight with like a broken hand, or like they were talking about Oscar Valdez as well. Espinoza, like he messed up his ankle in the first fight between them, still kept boxing. A lot of these guys have the heart of a lion, but I think if a boxer is like, no, like I'm never gonna say he quit, man. Like, I don't think I could say that because I'm not in the ring and I'm not in their shoes. Right.
I don't know
So
what he felt. It's tough
no,
to say.
I
So
have no like, and I think the narrative is like, yo, he quit. And if people want to say that, that's fine. But for me, it's like, yo, imagine being in the ring and like seeing double vision and not trying to, because people die in the ring. Like, you don't know what goes through your mind during that time when you're going through something like that. So for myself, I don't think I'm going to give him a hard time about it, because like I don't know what he's going through. Like, people do die in the ring, right? So maybe he was just like, yo, I don't think this is good for me. Now, I think the question is it, was that his last fight? Because at the same time, I don't know how Ramirez comes back from that. He has 3 losses now. And as you know, like, losses don't mean much to us, Brian, because our favorite fighters have losses, but he has 3 losses now. And the way that he just fought early on, thought pretty good, but like the narrative is now that he quit. So like, is
he,
that one of the last times that we might see him, or like, what do
I
you
don't
think?
I don't know if it's that extreme because he's not this like Oscar Valdez is a different discussion because he's been through more wars and he's older. I think this is slightly different. Um, I wonder what Top Rank does from a business standpoint. Now, there's some other stuff in the news about Top Rank, like they might not be retained by ESPN. They may end up going to the Zone after all, which I don't want all of boxing to be on the Zone, but okay. That's something that may happen. But I do wonder, like, okay, what does that mean for the roster? Does that mean are you going to start cutting guys beforehand? Because we've talked about this very recently, going back to 140. They kind of let the 140-pound weight class go. Like Shakur Stevenson is out at obviously champion at 135. But at 140, like Jose Ramirez was there, gone. Artur Barbosa was there, gone. Teofimo Lopez is always like a half foot in, half foot out type of thing with him. Like we don't really know what the hell is going on. I wonder if like they just cut bait with Robeisy Ramirez at this point because they found another champion in Rafael Espinoza that they can push. That would suck. Robeisy good, but also like this is somebody who, despite like the pedigree coming in, and he was hyped before his debut, which is not that long ago, because amateur career such and such. 25 years old at that point where he debuted, I believe. He got dropped in the first round of his like first professional fight, and then ended up like getting it back. He did lose that fight. Like that was the first loss of his career, and that was kind of like, oh, like okay, like we've seen enough cracks here where it's like I think we kind of know what he is at this point, right? Like he's a contender. Perhaps he's good enough to win a title at some point. We'll see, but it would have to kind of be served to him at this point. And I mean, Rafael Espinoza is not going to do that. So I don't know if this is the end, but I do wonder if this is the end. Like if Top Rank is like, okay, we're good, and on to the next.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the most interesting things about this, because as you know, Ramirez, like he had the whole Cuban crowd, Miami, they were hyping him up to be that guy. And now it's like, well, this is a guy that was a potential future champion that already kind of had a fan base. And I feel like he's also a guy that had the trajectory of being a guy that probably could sell out arenas. Like if Robeisy wasn't going to be having 3 losses on his resume, imagine if he was undefeated right now, right? And he had that fan base. I think it would continue to grow because he had a lot of hype on him, but he was also seen as a very exciting fighter. Then he takes some losses, and then he ends tonight by the narrative of quitting. And you saw it on that Top Rank broadcast. The guys were disappointed. Let's get to some comments because I know a couple of our friends from the show are kind of mad about this. Al the pal who donated to the show earlier. If you a Mexican and you quit like that, we're gonna check you after that. Yeah,
That's
behind the
true.
scenes, we're gonna check you.
That's probably, yeah. I mean,
Right?
not even behind the scenes, also on like Instagram.
Excuses are like assholes. Everyone's got one. Also, no excuse. You know the game when you get in the game. It's true. Like everyone's told before they start boxing, like this is serious, right? You don't play with something like this. It's it's interesting, you know.
Well,
I feel like it's one of those things where it's still weird how it ended,
mhm.
but like, man, it's hard for me to say like, yo, he quit, because like I don't know what was going on in his head.
This is one of his quotes. He got me with his elbow twice in the fourth round. That's when I started to see double. I told the referee he did his job. He scolded him, but the damage had already been done. And then he made it through round five, and then round six he took a shot, and that was it. I will click the comments at his post, and the first thing is just, "You're just a quitter, bro. Accept it, LOL," with laughing emojis. Like that's kind of what he's gonna be. Like, it sucks because this is on your resume now. Um, and I mean, fair or not, like, this is how people are going to judge him. So when he does, if he does, and potentially when he does return to the ring, let's say he returns next year in like June or something along those lines, people are going to be like, quitter, quitter, quitter. Like, this is what is going to be said of him. And, good luck winning people back after that. Like, it's gonna take a lot, especially in this climate where a lot of people who just watch the fights are, they think that they're tougher than the people actually fighting. So it's a different sort of climate now. So I ain't gonna call out Robeisy Ramirez's toughness, but I do want to know, like, I need more context to this because I haven't seen the elbow shots that he's
You can see the
talking about.
elbow.
Like,
Yeah.
I need to see it. Like, if he, like, can the doctor verify that he saw double? Like, there's just a lot more that we need to know, that because boxing is boxing. I'm not sure we're going to figure any of this stuff out. We'll see.
Yeah, and Jesus, good friend of the show, says Top Rank may release Ramirez. I believe they might. Yeah. If I'm Top Rank and I'm thinking on a business standpoint, and I just seen that,
Oh, you're pissed. They're probably pissed,
this is an
honestly.
interesting one, and like we're gonna get stories like this.
There's a lot
In
of
a
examples of
way,
this. Yeah.
yeah, in a way, had a broken orbital and saw double vision against Donaire in the first fight. Got to be built different. It's true, and some guys just have more of a heart of a lion than others, and that's just in general in life, right? So it's like, I still feel like you got to be tough as hell to get into that ring, and
You
it's
do.
hard to say unless you're in that position, man.
Yeah. That's the
Like,
thing. Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, it's hard for me to sit here. I'm not in the ring. I'm not fighting, and I'm not in that situation. So it's like, I know I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt more than other people are, but it's just because like I'm not in that position. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what I would do in that position.
Let's move on to this portion of the discussion because I do want to know, like, all right, we've seen Rafael Espinoza. He also had a title defense before this, but I mean, what is his next move? Because we're talking about 140 being a mess. Uh 126. I mean, I won't say it's just as messy, but like Angelo Leo getting a title in this weight class in shocking fashion
Angelo
recently.
Leo, though, I mean, listen, he's been in the ring with some dogs. You know what I mean? Angelo Leo is one of those names. Um,
Ray
I,
Ford had a,
I,
had a shot, and then Nick Ball is champion now, and Nick
I,
Ball honestly could fucking test anybody in this weight class.
I think that's the fight. Rafael Espinoza and Nick Ball. I think that's the fight that we all want to see. I know me and Brian would be down for that one.
Oh my
Um,
god. I would I'm demanding a post fight live if we get Nick Ball versus Rafael Espinoza.
how would you feel about Shushu getting an opportunity against a Rafael Espinoza?
Ooh.
Because is it time for Shushu to get that shot? That's a
Hmm.
fight that they could have in New York, right?
Sure. I mean, if I'm Rafael Espinoza, I don't know if I want that
Yeah.
necessarily. Just giving up that advantage. But I think Bruce Carrington was unspectacular 2 fights ago. Did better in his last fight, but I mean, it wasn't. It was very low profile because it was on the undercard, like the non-broadcasted version of the Netflix. Amanda
Mhm.
Serrano, Katie Taylor, Mike Tyson, Jake Paul, just sort of mishmash or whatever the case may be. And Bruce Carrington, like, he didn't even make the Netflix part of the card. He was on. I think they put that on YouTube. So I don't think he should get a title shot next. Um, but I do think he's going to get one in 2025.
So isn't Cool Boy Steph and Brandon Figueroa set to fight again?
Supposedly.
So
let me check if that's
I don't
official.
know if that's for sure, but as you know, in the first fight, a lot of people thought the Heartbreak Kid won. I didn't. I had it 8 rounds to 4. I thought Cool Boy won,
I thought he
but
did too.
I think I think that would actually be an exciting fight. Brandon
They're
Figueroa
fighting
and
again.
Rafael.
They're
Yeah.
fighting again.
So I think Rafael Espinoza could actually wait for the winner of that if he wanted to, or if he wants to stay busy, he could fight a Ray Vargas.
Top Rank and PBC. You know, that's the other piece of it. It's like
Yeah.
I don't like since all the other big promoters seem to be doing business over there because like Top Rank is not necessarily like they're not part of the zone yet, but them Matchroom, Golden Boy are all like kind of working together through like Riyadh and shit like that. PBC ain't doing any of that. So I don't know how much crossover there's going to be. I think
Yeah.
the guys who are PBC fighters that wind up in that world just leave PBC, like Isaac Cruz, for example, and Boots Ennis, for example, who jumps over to Matchroom.
So I think there's pros and cons, and this is kind of a separate topic, but there's pros and cons of Top Rank possibly going to DAZN because then they're still kind of under a banner where I think they could work with each other and have those fights on that network. But I also think it's bad for the sport of boxing because not everyone has DAZN, and there's a lot of fights that people miss because they're on DAZN. And I mean, what if Top Rank went to Netflix?
Oh, I'd rather that. I
Yeah.
don't like we've talked about this on the show, and I don't commenters, please. Like, do y'all like the Zone as an app? Like, not even just like because they have boxing or whatever, just as an app, as a functional app. Do you like their presentation of boxing? Do you like the colors, the commentators? Like, do you like how they present their fights, how they do everything? The people that like to me, ESPN's broadcast, and it's ESPN, so duh, but it just feels bigger. Nothing's gonna
Yeah.
feel like HBO and Showtime. Like nothing's good. Like that was the peak. Like we fucking peaked 7, 8 years ago. Probably actually long before that. But you get what I'm saying. Now it's just like I don't want DAZN to have everything. Because I just feel like like really ESPN is not going to have boxing now, even though they're just
Yeah.
completely
It's
leaning into like, hey, we're a sports rights company. Like that's a bad sign for the sport, in my opinion.
Yeah, so I've had DAZN for an extremely long time. I initially got it for NFL Sunday Ticket because if you were in Canada, that's how you got NFL Sunday Ticket was you got DAZN. So the boxing and everything just got added in there, and I was like, okay, this is dope. As an app, it lags a little bit at times, but it's not bad. Like I love it. I love coming home and being like, yo, I could just hop on DAZN and watch boxing. Like I did that today with Liam Paro and Richardson Hitchins. Easy. Do I like the presentation and like working in media? I can already tell what type of presentation it is and like what
Mhm.
goes into it in terms of budget and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Having worked in TV a lot, so I don't think it's like they don't have the same glitz and glamour that ESPN does. Like I can already see the broadcast and I can see how much they're putting into it. However, it's not the worst, right? I think the best thing that could happen in boxing is for it to be more accessible. And I think if it went to like a Netflix or something, it would be. So my hope is if they do leave ESPN, which I think would be terrible for the sport, and I think it would suck. I think it would be bad for ESPN too to let it go because it's Top Rank. I would hope it would go somewhere like Netflix, to be honest with you, because I think that would be its best bet. And we're gonna see football on Netflix on Christmas Day, so
So they better get that right. We know
yeah,
who's performing at halftime.
Beyonce.
Did we even answer who Rafael Espinoza? Like, we can't. It's probably not going to be the Fulton Figueroa winner unless, like, there is some business to be had there. And one commenter did help us. Might have been Aldo Powell. That is the co-feature for the Benavidez Morel card on February 1st, which. Whew, we're doing a post-fight live show for that. Like, we're
Hundred
absolutely going to
percent.
try to. Isaac Cruz is also returning on that card. Jesus Ramos, Jason Rosario. Like, that is a fun card. I don't know who he's going to fight next. Just looking at you did mention Shushu Carrington.
That's an
Well,
easy fight for them to make. I feel that's why.
well, here's the thing about that. Rafael Espinosa is the WBO champion. What do we always say about Top Rank? The number one contender was Robeisy Ramirez. He will now drop down. You'll
Yeah.
never guess who was number two. It's Bruce Carrington. So I mean, hey, maybe that's it. Maybe that's where we go next.
Hey, it could be kind of interesting because they could give Bruce Carrington to Rafael Espinoza, and then the winner of that could fight the winner of, and obviously this is like if it was to happen, but Cool Boy Steph or Brandon Figueroa. And obviously like boxing, politics, and all that, but that would make the most sense to me, in my opinion. And what's going on with Ray Vargas? Where is he? When was the last time Ray Vargas fought?
Has he fought since the Nick Ball fight? No, he has not. So okay, he had a draw with Nick Ball. He should have lost that fight. That was in March, March of this past year. We're still in 2024, but we're about to not be. So we haven't seen Ray Vargas in 9 months. I don't know. I think stylistically, I mean, Ray Vargas versus Rafael Espinoza would be fun. Does he deserve a title shot after losing? I thought he lost to Nick Ball, but he got a draw technically. Does he deserve a title shot? I don't know. But if I'm top rank, like in terms of matchmaking, it's pretty smart.
That's a great fight. I'm telling you right now, that's how I'm like, yo, where's Ray Vargas? And that would be a fight style that I would like eat up. I would love that fight. And it's boxing. Like, when does it matter? Like, we just saw Oscar Valdez fight Navarrete for the second time. And maybe we can move on to that now, Brian, unless you have any final thoughts.
No, I think we should just throw up some comments here. Nerd, his first contribution today. Thank you, Nerd. Elbowgate, Robeisy fans are crying foul play. They're demanding a third fight. I think I'm good. Ryan Hong, I need both of your early picks for the Morel Benavidez fight and Figueroa. I'll tell you right now, we're both taking Fulton. I know that for a fact. Because if I'm taking Fulton, she's taking Fulton. 1,000%. I'm kind of leaning David Morrell. I'm not gonna lie.
You know what's funny about that? I think I might be leaning David Morrell as well.
I'm not betting it yet, though. I'm not betting.
I want to see what the odds are. Like if David Morrell, the odds are looking.
They're out.
Oh, they are. I'm gonna take a look, but
I'll tell you.
I don't know. I at the same time, it's hard to go against the monster, the Mexican monster. But David Morrell is just as good. That's why this is probably one of the fights that I'm looking forward to the most, because both these guys are in their prime. Like this is a massive fight.
It is. David Benavidez -166. David Morrell +136.
Okay, so I think Vegas kind of has it right there. Right? Vegas kind of has it right there. They're not making this very wide. Hustle man, do not throw Shushu with Espinoza. He is not ready. I would agree. But also Shushu was on our channel not too long ago. Brian got a video of him saying he would be interested in fighting Inoue.
He ain't ready.
So if he's not ready for Inoue, I don't know if he's ready for Espinoza, but I mean that's a fight that could possibly happen. And I think it's an easy fight for Top Rank to make. That's the thing.
And by that, I think you mean not that Espinoza is better than Inoue, but just like a tough matchup for Bruce Carrington. And Inoue hasn't moved up, so he's still going to be at 122. Hustle Man thinks we're crazy. Morel and Figueroa are getting stopped.
Well, we'll both pick Schoolboy Steph though. We're not picking Brandon Figueroa.
I also don't think it's going to be a stoppage. Stephen Fulton doesn't stop a lot of people.
No, and also in their first fight, as you saw, that was an absolute war. And I think people thought Figueroa won that fight. So I think a lot of people are going to be rolling with the Heartbreak Kid. And honestly, like Coolboy Steph, and I'm like the biggest Coolboy Steph fan. Okay, when he was going to fight Inoue, I was like riding hard for him. Like, yo, Coolboy Steph got this. Like, it's going to be Inoue's. Like, I'll take the L. Because Inoue destroyed him, right? Like, absolutely destroyed him. I think that's a fight. Like, Coolboy Steph hasn't looked good. Did he look good in his last fight? No. I don't think he looked good in his last fight. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Return from layoff also.
Yeah. So I'm still taking Coolboy Steph in that fight, but I'm just saying, like, playing devil's advocate here, that I don't think he looked great in his last fight.
I hope he boxes and doesn't brawl. I think he'll have better results. Hustle Man actually, he's switched it. Fulton and Morel are getting stopped. I don't think
Morel's getting stopped, man. I don't think.
Look, bet it. David Benavidez is like +300-400 something to stop him. Go ahead. Probably even more than that, but bet it. I'm not betting that. Jesus. David Morel's nice, man. David Morel's nice. But again, early. I want to see we have 2 months. We have 2 months. We have another fight to talk about that actually happened tonight. Jesus says Bruce has better opposition than Espinoza. All right. Before we get too far off topic, let's go to Emanuel Navarrete and Oscar Valdez too.
Yes.
54
So
minutes in. This is some Joe Budden shit. Getting to the main thing.
I know where
Hour in.
you guys are lucky because Bride and I only used to get like 7 minutes before when we first
You love
started.
making that joke.
We only like 7 minutes, maybe 8, and we would request to talk about fights that they didn't want to talk. They didn't want to let us talk about.
Honestly, sometimes it was like 3 minutes. No joke. You can go find the videos are still up. They're on YouTube.
Yeah. Anyways, we didn't have enough time, so now we're giving you guys like almost an hour show, but that's because it was a jam-packed fight weekend, and we got to get to the main card of Top Rank tonight. Emanuel Navarrete, Oscar Valdez 2. It's tough seeing Oscar Valdez like that got dropped more than once. Fight had to be stopped. Emanuel Navarrete looked like an absolute monster. Just doing what he does, the high work rate, the power. He's kind of like the way that he throws and fights, it's not traditional. Right? Like it's a little bit awkward. He's got an awkward style, but
So
Bryan,
reckless.
is this exactly how you thought this fight was going to go?
No, I didn't think he was good. It's exactly how I feared it was going to go. Because we talked about this. I was worried about this may have been a private conversation. I don't know if I ended up saying all this on the show, but I was worried about, hey, we've seen the older dude, mid-30s, has had wars before. Just a high volume style that gets hit a decent amount in Oscar Valdez, and it usually ends like this for them. So I was worried about Emanuel Navarrete. I probably should have bet this, but I didn't even bet on this particular fight. I was worried about Emanuel Navarrete just tearing through him. And you could see it in round 1 kind of early. He does drop him in round 1, and then round 4 drops him a second time. And that's when I was like, oh boy. After round 1, the live odds just spiked. So Emanuel Navarrete before the bout was like minus 220, minus 250, something along those lines on the money line. After round 1, and he scored the knockdown, it was like plus 1,200. And just kept skyrocketing, right? Like you were just getting no value on Navarrete if you waited, and you weren't getting great value on him beforehand. But it seemed like the logical decision there to bet on him. So for me personally, like I wonder if this is the end of Oscar Valdez. I'm not gonna say he should retire. There are a lot of people saying that. I mean, if he wants to continue fighting, I wouldn't get in the ring with an Emanuel Navarrete. Emanuel Navarrete is a special talent who is not always consistent, but for whatever reason, the best 2 performances we got out of him were both against Oscar Valdez, probably, where like he just throws from these unconventional, awkward angles. Like he throws an uppercut when you don't think he's going to throw an uppercut. These overhand rights, like he's ridiculously talented, long, also 72-inch reach. Like that's a 6 feet tall type of reach, legitimately, in the super featherweight division. And like Navarrete is just a monster in this weight class. And Oscar Valdez is just like, this is a rematch that we didn't really want to see. And this is kind of why. And now I wonder if Oscar Valdez is just going to walk away from here. And by the way, if he does, great career. Great career. Salute to Oscar Valdez, whether or not he decides to continue to box.
So this fight went, I knew Navarrete would win. And the whole time after we did our preview show, I feared for what could happen. Because Oscar Valdez is like one of my favorite fighters of all time. And that's kind of what I saw. Like I was scoring all the fights and I was so excited. Like the whole day I was texting Bryan, like, I'm so excited for tonight. I was being like the biggest nerd today. And
you were also excited because of all the college football championships that were going on.
That's true. But when it came to this fight, like I was also like, what if there's a chance that Valdez turns it around? Like, you know what I mean? Like because I'm such a fan of his. And then the first round happens. I'm like, oh no. Like, and then they're fighting and I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Is he trying to trade with Navarrete?
Yeah.
And you're seeing those uppercuts. You're seeing those overhand rights. You're seeing the way that Navarrete is walking him down. And like, you see at the same time, Valdez coming forward. And I'm like, this isn't going to go good. Like, this is not going to go good. And you're also seeing like Valdez's legs, I thought never really recovered after that first round. Like he didn't seem stable throughout that whole entire fight. Like you kind of saw him like slipping and falling in the ring. And then the fourth round happens and I'm like, oh, Jesus. Like it's about to get ugly. And for all the other fights, like I had like a little, like a book and I was like, scoring the rounds like a geek. And after the first round, when I saw Oscar Valdez like drop to the floor, I just like put it away and I was like, I'm just gonna watch him fight because I think it's gonna be the last time I see him fight. And that's literally what happened in this fight.
Wow.
I feel like that was the last time we saw Oscar Valdez fight, unless he comes back, fight someone that I don't want to say tomato can because that's a really rude thing to say, but I think Oscar Valdez has the fan base to do that. He did say in his post-fight interview, like next time, but he's 33 years old and he's been in some wars. Like Oscar Valdez has been in some wars. I don't think he has anything left to prove. And to be honest with you, like he just didn't look good against Navarrete twice. And I don't know if I can sit through another fight. Like I can't sit through seeing what I saw against what happened to Triple G. Like that's like Triple G's last fight was tough for me to watch, but sitting down on my couch watching Oscar Valdez tonight, to me, I was like, this might be the last time I ever see him fight. Like, I don't care about scoring this fight. I did not score it after the first round.
3 losses in his last 5 fights. Personally, I would want to go out with the win. So maybe try. I know you don't want to use the word can or tomato can, but maybe try to find one.
Yeah.
Just try to go out with a victory. But the Shakur Stevenson fight was 2.5 years ago, not that long ago. We were actually like that. We were working together at the other place, breaking down that fight. I remember. I remember taking Shakur. We may have both taken Shakur Stevenson by decision.
We did, but I was rooting for Valdez. Like I was like, yo, I think Valdez has a chance against Shakur Stevenson. Like, this is how much of a Valdez fan that I am. And Ryan Hong, a friend of the show, God damn, you kept the TV on and watched Valdez get his ass beat one last time before he retires. Should tell you, animal. It wasn't that. It was just like I was like trying to process me possibly seeing him in the ring for the last time.
Yeah,
I was trying to process that, like, yo, like this could be it, and it was my fear, and like he didn't look good, man. So yeah, you know what I did? I saw him get beat for the last time, and I don't think I ever want to see it again.
God,
but he's tough, man. He didn't want to give up. Like, he's a guy that doesn't want to give up. Like, we talk about Ramirez, Oscar Valdez is fighting through anything.
I remember when he was fighting on, like, I don't know if this made the actual pay-per-view, but the highlights definitely got posted when he fought Evgeny Gradovich on the Manny Pacquiao Timothy Bradley card. The one that Timothy Bradley retired after. I think that was it. So this was like the last one. Oscar Valdez has been around for a freaking minute. I just looked. He's been a pro since 2012. So you're talking about 12 years, and that's like just a lot of mileage at this point. 227 rounds in his career too. Like at that point, like that this is getting up there now.
I don't think he has anything to prove, though. I think Oscar Valdez was so entertaining, delivered us one of the best knockouts of the year not too long ago. Like a vicious knockout against Miguel Burchell. That was 2 years ago. Like, put him to sleep. Like, we've seen Oscar Valdez fight through injuries in the ring. The dude's been an absolute beast. I don't think he has anything left to prove. I think he's been one of the most entertaining fighters of this decade.
Of this generation, for sure. Yeah, like if you look, like his resume is just dog after dog after dog. I mentioned Gradovich, who by the way, he stopped in the 4th round of that fight. And Gradovich was like 21-1. Like, this is early on, but it was still very good. Like Manuel Mariaga, this is a featherweight title fight. Like, that was one that that was a great fight. StubHub Center shit. You know what I mean? Like, and that's like a war zone over there. Genesis Servania, who dropped Oscar Valdez. This was also that same year. There's Scott Quigg. The first, I think he fought Adam Lopez the second time.
Yeah.
The first Adam Lopez fight, which is very fun because Valdez also gets dropped in that one. Jason Velez, who's also a dog, not somebody who's like super high level in terms of his boxing class and things of that nature, but just a dog who comes to fight. It took 10 rounds to stop him. You mentioned Miguel Burchell, Robson Conceição before he fought Shakur Stevenson. Shakur Stevenson, obviously, the Navarrete twice, Liam Wilson, like just dog after dog after dog on his resume. Yeah, I think this could be it potentially. I don't even know what the next fight would look like, and hopefully it's not a super dangerous opponent because he's already been in a lot of wars.
And you could just see it on his face, like after the first Navarrete fight, like he was in tears, and you could tell he was upset at this fight. I just don't think I can sit through another fight like that for Oscar Valdez. So unless it's a tomato can to say bye, then I don't know. But Oscar Valdez is one of those guys, like, he believes he can beat anybody. And he's 33 years old. And I think that's the age where, you know, things start to change a little bit. But nonetheless, like I said, and you said, Brian, like one of the best fighters that we've seen in this generation, one of the most entertaining fighters, and his resume speaks for itself. I don't think he has anything left to prove. And yeah, hopefully we don't see Oscar Valdez in a ring where they feed him to like a young guy or something like that. I don't want to see that. You know what I mean? Like that's the worst case scenario. So if I'm Oscar Valdez, I'm probably taking my time and like reflecting. But I mean, we'll see what he does. Drop your comments, guys. Let's get to a couple of comments, Brian, before we get into the Emanuel Navarrete part. Jesus says Valdez just retire. He also said Eddie fake no-so ruins careers. Teo next. Jesus doesn't like Canelo, guys, just in case you know. Fake Nello team does it again. Loses big fights. Yeah, I mean, listen, man, you know, Eddie Reynoso at one point, like, you know, trader of the year, depending on who you ask, but yes.
I really hope Oscar Valdez doesn't move up to, like, you know, what the older fighters do is like they go up a weight class to cut less, and then they end up facing like a young lion in that weight class. I really like, because this is worrisome to me, but what's sitting right there for Top Rank, if they wanted to just be like dicks, for lack of a better word, Keyshawn Davis versus Oscar Valdez is right there, and I'm dreading.
No.
I'm dreading.
Dude,
that.
I'm not. I wouldn't even do the post fight show.
No Abdullah Mason. No Keyshawn Davis at lightweight. Like, no, don't Oscar Valdez. Don't even think about it. Like, don't move up, and like, no.
Now this is something I can get with Al the Pal. Just feed him to the Europeans. Yes, Al the Pal. You and me right now. Feed him to a European, because that European's gonna have a tough time with Oscar Valdez.
Joe Cordina.
I think Cordina is like done though too, right?
Well, he got stopped in his last fight, but I mean, no. But you're saying you want Valdez to like be fed someone from. So Joe Cordina's a name that I'm looking at right now. God, I don't want to see Valdez versus Abdullah Mason or Keyshawn Davis.
No, I'm not.
Andy Cruz. Like, no.
I'm not.
Let's get into the actual winner here. Yeah, because I think there's an easy answer to this question. Next for Navarrete, what's next for him after knocking out Oscar Valdez? And I mean, the dude in the arena was right there. Like, that's the one. So Shaki Foster to me. Like, and if you're Top Rank, come on. It's Emanuel Navarrete versus Oshaki Foster. That's the fight to me. I don't know if there's another fight that like is more obvious to make at this point. Unification also.
No, that's the fight. It's Oshaki Foster and Emanuel Navarrete. And I don't know who I'm taking in that fight, because I think Oshaki is a very good fighter. I think he's underrated. I think a lot of people forget about him when they're talking about this division, but he does hold a title. I think it's the WBC. Could be. I gotta check that. It's okay. So it is the WBC.
It is, yeah.
That's the only fight I think I want to see, and I think we heard Emanuel Navarrete say he's going to do 2 more fights in this division and move up.
Shaki Foster, and then maybe a title defense on the West Coast or in Mexico, something along those lines. Maybe Albert Bell finally gets a title shot. Your Canadian brethren, who's been undefeated forever and just can't seem to get a title shot. Ranked 5th by the WBO, by the way. So I think given that, maybe that's somebody Emanuel Navarrete can give a shot to. But yeah, I mean, if you look at like just sort of the rankings, like, yeah, I mean, do you want to see Emanuel Navarrete versus Charlie Suarez or Andres Cortez? I think there's a fight coming up. Mark Magsayo. I don't want to see him against Liam Wilson again.
I used to love Mark Magsayo, dude.
That's not surprising at all.
I still do. But, you know. I still do. Like, I don't know. Like, he was fun to watch. He's fun to watch.
Andres Cortez could actually get the title shot. He doesn't have a fight coming up. I thought he did. He beat Abraham Nova, though. I remember in June. And
let Oscar Valdez fight Lee Wood. What? I'm just sorry. I'm just going through the names. Lee Wood and Oscar Valdez.
I could see Top Rank. I could see Top Rank doing, like, I'm not even joking, Emanuel Navarrete versus like Oshaki Foster, and then the co-feature is like Oscar Valdez versus Abraham Nova.
Ooh. I think I'm like, I don't want to see Oscar Valdez in the ring again.
I'm good. Yeah.
Like, I think I'm like thinking about it right now, and I'm like, Nova is like,
Andres Cortez could get this title shot, not for nothing. Like I could
Yeah.
see that. But I hope it's Oshaki Foster and Emmanuel Navarrete. That's a good fucking fight.
I think
Who do you think wins this fight? You say you don't know?
between Emanuel Navarrete and Oshaki Foster. No, I don't know, because we sometimes Emanuel Navarrete, he's so careless defensively that one day he like he's gotten dropped before. Like, we've seen him get dropped before and win a fight.
Yes.
That was against Liam Wilson, right?
Uh-huh.
So I think against Oshaki Foster, like, people are sleeping on Oshaki Foster. Like, he's a great fighter. I don't know who I'm taking in that fight. I think work rate would definitely be on the side of Emanuel Navarrete, but I think Oshaki Foster has a great IQ. Like, I don't know who I'm picking in that fight. I think I might lean towards
donations.
Oh,
donations.
Thank you. Al the Pal donated $15 to us tonight. Thank you so much, Al the Pal. Love y'all channel and appreciate y'all channel. By the way, guys, we hit over 2,000 subs.
We did.
Thank you guys so much for rocking with us, especially on the post-fight shows, during our lives throughout the weeks. Thank you so much. We started this channel. We didn't know how fast it would grow, how many subs we would end up getting, but we just did it because we both love talking boxing, and we wanted to continue on and not do 3 minutes or 7 minutes on a topic. And and we started the show, and we like were unaware of how it could go. But I feel like because of you guys, and we always have the same people sometimes in the chats that support us, and you guys are friends of the show. You guys are a part of how we've built this show, and we're excited to have you along the ride as we continue to grow.
Yeah, and we're doing it our way, which is to say, like, we're not like trying to just shit on fighters for the sake of shitting on fighters and just get clicks and just make ourselves like just really combative with people in boxing. It's like, no, we're just trying to put out a good show for people who care about this stuff, and for people who want to care about this stuff, whether you're a casual fight fan, whether you're a diehard. I feel like we're trying to welcome as many people as possible. So I'm glad that 2,000 of you have took it upon yourselves to subscribe, because that was pretty humbling, especially considering we haven't even been doing this for terribly long, and we're not people who like, we don't try to do shit on social media to get likes or views or whatever the case may be. We just put shit out. We just push it out. We want to let the work and the conversation speak for themselves. And we're very, very happy that it's coming along. Honestly, it's been less than 2 years. It's been 20-ish months or something along those lines. And we legitimately do have big plans for 2025. Like and honestly for 2024 before the year's up. Like, we're talking about, we have another couple post-fight live shows we want to do, and an award show. And then in 2025, probably some more ways to really like connect with you guys. So, and if you're still sitting here watching, thank you, because y'all are the reason this channel is growing, is by continuing to watch and support just good product and just good boxing talk, honestly.
Yeah, shout out to Astrid too for donating $5. So thank you, Astrid.
Day one.
Yeah, she's day one. Put the hammer down, Astrid. Okay.
Inside joke.
Inside jokes. Astrid is a part of the show as well from the very beginning. Okay, so I feel like, Brian, for Emanuel Navarrete, as I was saying, yes, Oshaki Foster, but also if Emanuel Navarrete was to move up, like, let me just play fantasy here
again, by the way, because you did try this before.
Do you know where I'm going with this?
No, and I'm kind of nervous now.
Emanuel Navarrete and Shakur Stevenson.
Okay. I thought you were gonna go there, or Keyshawn Davis.
Okay, so we did get a Keyshawn Davis comment.
Yeah, but it was to fight Richardson Hitchins,
which I thought was actually a pretty dope comment by Hustle Man.
I think this is 2027, sure, because I think Keyshawn's he'll tear up lightweight for a little bit first.
Yeah.
Although I don't know about tear up, because like Tank is saying he's gonna retire, and it's like, I would add Keyshawn Davis to the list of people that I want to see Tank fight before Tank retires, if he's going to, which I'm not sure. I believe anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's a fight that would be extremely exciting, because people love to. This is not about Shakur, but people love to watch Shakur fight, but also talk shit about him. Right? Like, people love that. Like, it's a love and hate. It's like with LeBron, dude. Like Shakur has that type of fan base. Like people rock with LeBron and then people hate LeBron, right? I think Shakur is in that same boat where there will be people that love him and then people that just hate him. And I don't think that's a bad thing for Shakur. I think he just has to, play it safe a little bit. But
Afro Soul, this is an interesting comment. Before this, actually said Navarrete already ducked Shakur when they were both at top rank.
mhm.
Al the Pal says Shakur been scared of Navarrete, so that's funny. I love boxing fans so much.
Yeah.
His power caps at 130. Afro Soul says I don't see him moving up again anytime soon. I mean, he said he wants to, right? He says he wants to. So I
He
mean,
said 2 more fights in this weight class and then he's moving up. But I agree with Afro Soul. I think his power cap's at 132. But he looked like in the broadcast, they're like, he looks 160 tonight. He looks massive. Like he did look pretty big in the ring, guys.
I think he has the style weird enough to like give Shakur some issues, but I ultimately don't think he's gonna beat Shakur. I mean, listen, but like, would it surprise you? Would it surprise you if Navarrete and Shakur Stevenson happens and it plays out kind of like the first Marcos Maidana Floyd Mayweather fight? Where
Oh,
it's
okay.
where because Marcos Maidana was weird. It was awkward. His tempo was different. He was throwing from weird angles, these looping shots that Floyd Mayweather, hadn't seen from a ton of guys. And he was also ballsy enough to try it against the best defensive fighter of, our generation.
Yeah.
And it worked to the point where there was a lot of people screaming robbery after Floyd Mayweather got the win.
Yeah, I was at the second fight because I was like, robbery. No, I'm just joking.
Like, do you think Navarrete could do some of that to someone like a Shakur Stevenson?
Can I be honest with you? I
No,
think,
is the answer.
okay, I'm going to lie then. I don't know why I asked that. I don't think anyone beats Shakur Stevenson.
Not even Tank.
No, listen. I don't think that fight happens, but I'm higher on Tank than I think you are. And I think that's
No, I'm
grown.
high on Tank.
Okay. But I don't know. But I think I'm a little bit higher on Tank than you are.
Okay. Sure.
But we don't know. Maybe. Whatever. I don't think anyone beats Shakur Stevenson. Like, I think Shakur could end up being undefeated. Like, that's how good he is. If he fights Tank, I think I would put my money on Tank.
Wait.
If they were to fight. But I don't think I'm not picking anyone else to beat Shakur.
But you don't think that fight's gonna happen. That's why you're saying he could go undefeated.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because there's no way that fight happens.
I don't think there's no way that fight happens.
I think it's more likely that Tank and Lomachenko fight.
There's no doubt I'm taking Tank in that fight if that happens.
Yeah, I'm taking that fight too. But I think Tank could fight Loma and then he could sail off into the sunset if he wanted to. Because then people would be like, yo, at least he fought Loma. You know what I mean? Because right now people are like, well, who did he fight? And all this, even though I feel like Tank has names on his resume. But I don't think anyone beats Shakur Stevenson. I don't. He's too good of a fighter. You might not like his style. No one's beating him. No one's beating him unless he fights Richardson Hitchins, and then maybe we get a fight where we're like, "What is going on here?"
Well, they're friends, so
yeah.
I don't know if that they know each other too well, so I don't know if that's gonna happen. Shakur and Tank. That's the fight I need because I have no idea how that's gonna go. That's one that's gonna start off even money, and then I think Shakur is gonna be an underdog because a lot of people are gonna bet on Tank, and I think that could potentially be a mistake.
Yeah, so Shade says, wait, didn't you just say no one beat Shakur, but you said Tank would win? Yeah, because I don't think Tank and Shakur is happening. I think it's too many politics, and I don't think it's going to happen. So I think Shakur has a career that then goes undefeated. But if Shakur and Tank were to fight,
they need to.
I would put my money on Tank.
They need to fight. Afro Soul, no one beats Shakur in all caps. And then Afro Soul also says he agrees 100% with you. Calls him Floyd Mayweather, for lack of a better way of putting it. I think I don't know.
But if you had to pick right now, like you don't think about politics.
Mm-hmm.
You don't think about politics. You don't care about all the bullshit that goes on in boxing. Who right now do you think could beat Shakur Stevenson?
Tank.
Okay, exactly. So we're on the same thing there. But because I just don't think that fight's gonna happen, y'all.
I'm Tank, and I don't think I'm giving you another name. And I'm not even saying like I definitively would pick Tank to do it. I'm saying he could. Navarrete, I'm not sure he actually could, but I think he could be problematic because of his weird style. But also, he has lost like he's had some dubious fights in his past. Also, it seems like Oscar Valdez is the one that can get the best version of Emanuel Navarrete, because he was sloppy against Liam Wilson. He was sloppy against Conceição and nearly lost that fight. And, if not for the knockdowns, I mean, he probably would have. Barenchik, he actually lost that fight. Like,
yeah.
Navarrete, I mean, a dude like that, like Shakur would beat them, but he's awkward enough to where like I could see that being a 116, 112 as opposed to just a shutout.
Here's a question, and this is because I do see Shakur Stevenson like being a welterweight one day. Who would you pick between Devin Haney and Shakur Stevenson?
Shakur.
Yeah. I just think Devin's more entertaining than him. That's all.
Because he gets hit more.
yeah, because he takes chances. He'll take a chance. Like I appreciate that. You know
Shades
what I mean?
says Ryan Garcia would knock him out. Shakur
Shades,
Stevenson.
come on.
I don't think Ryan Garcia is fighting anywhere near 135 anymore.
Yeah, like I don't think that's a fight that happens ever. But I do.
This is funny.
Teo wants to move up too.
Afro, so y'all gonna be waiting all night for Tank to land that shot. That was me watching Deontay Wilder against Joseph Parker.
but the thing about it is Tank like reels you in. Like he sets up his shots. Like he's more tactical than people think, man, that people give him credit for. Like Tank is really good. For me, I still think he's the best in his weight class.
I think Tank versus Shakur is the hardest fight in boxing for me to like give a prediction on who I think will win. That's the hardest fight. I could argue that's the best fight in boxing to make right now.
Yeah, Ryan bets the over-under. 100%. Brian's going to bet the over-under. He's going to come on our show and be like, I'm betting over 7.5 rounds.
No.
That would be your bet, fam.
It's not going to be 7.5. I think they're going to put it higher. I think they're
like 10.5.
Maybe 9.5 because of Tank. But it kind of depends. I think that's a fight where it starts half and half. And then Tank is going to become the favorite because I think people are just going to be throwing money on Tank. They're going to be like, he's going to stop this dude. Shakur can't punch, whatever. Ryan be killing me. Like,
Ryan also likes your disco shirts. Ryan he's turning red. He's so shy. Thank you for the compliment for him.
I haven't worn it in a while. It's in my closet though. The alleged disco shirt. I might bring it back before the end of the year for the holidays.
Yeah.
All-Starine Ryan knocks out Shakur.
Yeah. It's a funny one, Shades. We appreciate that one.
This is the longest show we've ever done. This is the longest show we've ever done.
Yeah, I know. But it was worth it. I don't know. So I guess our final thoughts are we'd like Navarrete to fight O'Shaquie Foster.
Sure.
And when Navarrete moves up, there are some interesting fights, but I also do believe that his power caps out at 130, and that there was someone in the chat that said that as well that I agreed with.
Yeah.
So thank you for popping that in the comments as well. Let's get to a couple more comments, Brian, before we get up out of here. Al the Pal, Keyshawn thinks he can beat Navarrete. He got dog in him. Navarrete thinks he can beat Shakur going to 12, but Shakur's the favorite and more popular and more money, so they will give him the win. Yeah, like I think I don't think Navarrete is on Shakur's level. Like Navarrete is a fun fighter. And he's unorthodox, and the way he throws punches and moves, you're like, what? He's irresponsible defensively. But I think when you think about styles make fights, like I think Shakur's like light years ahead of him. Like I don't know if I'm tripping when I say that, Brian.
No, I just, again, to me, the list for people to beat Shakur Stevenson just stops at Tank. The same thing with the same thing in the reverse. Like I don't think anyone's beating Tank except for Shakur Stevenson. Like I think those are the only two dudes who could. Like that's a fight. If it happens, I'm 1000% betting a draw, which I did for the Hitchins Liam Paro fight, which it was plus 1800, and then I ended up taking Hitchins live, hit that decision plus 130. Yeah, but like that's one of those where it's like you have to bet a draw because it might be that close.
I will say one thing though. I don't think Loma could beat Shakur. But I think Loma would give him some problems. Loma is so smart when it comes to his skill set. Like what he did to Devin Haney. Like we've never seen Devin Haney struggle like that other than against Ryan Garcia, Austrian Ryan Garcia, right? Like what Loma did in that fight, because Devin never used to get hit like that. Like Devin took chances in that fight because he had to win that final round to win that fight. Yeah. But I think Lomachenko could give Shakur Stevenson problems. I don't think he would win that fight because like Loma's not winning fights these days. But
George
I think
Kambosos, I mean,
oh my god, no, I'm gonna stop the show. George's name came up. I'm not gonna. I don't want to be up to talk about George Kambosos Jr. Not tonight. No. Anyways, guys, we're gonna end this now because that's the word. Whenever you want,
let's take this last question from Shades.
Whenever you want to end the show, by the way, just say George Kambosos' name and it's a wrap. I'm just gonna stop talking about it. Anyways, go ahead.
Shades, who wins the Usyk Fury rematch? We're gonna do our previews for this that week, so we got some time, but it's gonna be hard to pick Usyk or against Usyk, right? It's gonna be hard to pick against Alexander Usyk after what we saw that first time. And I was big on like, hey, I think Tyson Fury is gonna win this fight narrowly. And shit, he still almost had a chance. But once he got caught, changed the fight.
Yeah, so. I think, and I did take Usyk in that fight. I'll probably be taking him again. But I think Fury, he's just been in so many wars. Like, I think the mileage on his legs definitely counts as well. They're popping off in the chat right now. But Afro Soul mentioned Kambosos again. So that means the show's a wrap. It means any comments, Brian, that pop out at you before we get up out of here, because we've done the show.
Shades is asking if you're well, I don't know if this might be directed at another commenter, if you know the Floyd Shakur comparison. Someone else did mention that.
No, because I remember Pretty Boy Floyd. Pretty Boy Floyd was a dog.
That's who I want some of these counter punchers to try to be instead of Money Floyd, because then it'll be entertaining. Because then I always bring up Floyd versus Gotti, even though it's unfair, but goddamn, the Floyd Mayweather performance versus Arturo Gotti might be my single favorite Floyd Mayweather performance.
Yeah,
like that's a counter puncher, sure, but he beat the fuck out of like a power puncher, like someone who's going to go in there and just straight at him. And yeah, like no, that might be my favorite one.
I don't. There's been a few. I think one of the fights that I thought was most interesting, and I thought the only guy that really gave Money May problems to me was Cotto.
Yes.
Like that was a fight where I'm like, if anyone would ask me who almost beat Mayweather, Cotto. That was the fight to me where I'm like,
Cotto, Castillo, Maidana. Those are the two.
Yeah. But Cotto for me is probably number one for sure. But I also could be a little bit biased. He's one of my favorite fighters.
Well, no, Mayweather himself has said at one point, like, Cotto's the toughest he fought.
Yeah.
And, like, he had to go get that one. Like, he had to rock him in the last round to be sure. I mean, the scorecards weren't, like, they weren't showing necessarily. I'm going to pull up the scorecards, but I remember him winning, like, a little more handy than that. I mean, Miguel Cotto's been disrespected on the cards multiple times in his career, but I thought that was a close fight. I would have rewatched.
I love that. That's what I was going to say. I want to rewatch that fight because I remember watching that fight and I was like, yo, he's giving Mayweather some problems. That was also a fight where, like, I'm a huge Mayweather fan, but like in that fight, I didn't know who I was cheering for.
Oh, De La Hoya. Aldo Powell mentions Oscar De La Hoya too, in terms of Floyd challengers who like got close. Although
I don't think so.
Like that was a split, but honestly, I think that Cotto, Castillo, and Maidana were the ones that were closest. Cotto, I just pulled up the cards,
and I'm like the biggest Oscar fan. Like I've watched all of Oscar De La Hoya fights growing up, and like even I wouldn't say that. I don't think the scorecards were fair in that fight.
117, 111, 117, 111, 118, 110 were the cards for Mayweather Cotto, and I thought it was way closer than that.
Yeah, I thought so too. Yeah. But as you know, sometimes in boxing, the cards aren't always right. A couple more comments before Shades is just asking us a bunch of questions. I don't know if it's for us, Shades.
Don't care. I'm taking Bivol. He got robbed the first fight. I'm taking Bivol in this fight.
I'm taking Beterbiev because he's Canadian. And he won the first one.
I mean, he's actually Russian, but I know what you mean.
Hey, he's ours now. Okay. He comes out with our flag. They have our flag. That's in true. Like the, what do they call it? I should know the term. What do they call it? Okay, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Is it a scoreboard technically?
Yeah, but there's a term for it. I'm not in the truck, so I guess it doesn't matter. Maybe that's why I don't know what it's called.
I'm taking Bivol. Don't care. Bivol got fucking flat out robbed in that fight.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna. I'm Puerto Rican, bro. Like you see,
you're American. But you're Puerto Rican. Yeah.
I'm New Yorican from New York. She's Canadian.
Yeah.
Technically. But like
Technically, yes.
Yeah.
No, I am Canadian. Yeah. I don't know. I'm Canadian too. I know shades. You know, Afro. So Canadians are refusing to take more L's after Drake. Well, I also have like Bay Area roots. So
yeah, she
I
rides
mean,
harder for the West Coast than Canada, honestly.
hey, I do like Canada though. Okay.
In hip hop.
Yeah, and yeah, for sure. Well, just in sports too, actually.
Like you saw E40 at the WNBA expansion draft, and you were probably like, "Oh shit, E40's the Baron
Anytime I see.
Davis."
Actually, you
Baron
know,
Davis
fun
also.
fact: when I was in the Bay in the summertime, and E40 came out with In a Major Way, there was a guy like selling like tapes out of his trunk, and that's where I bought E40 In a Major Way in Oakland out of a trunk. Anyways, that's a what I did that. I was like,
Wow.
I think I was like 8 years old. I was like to my grandpa, "Hey, can I go buy this?" And he didn't know what was going on.
It is
Let me buy it.
225 on the East Coast.
I'm sorry, that's a stupid story to tell this late. All right, so all right, guys, we're gonna end this. We've been on for like an hour and a half. Thank you so much to everyone that rocked out with us on this show. Thank you so much. We hit 2,000 subscribers, as I mentioned earlier. It's all because of you guys. So thank you so much. If you like the content, hit that like and subscribe button because that helps the channel grow. The more you do that, the more we'll be able to do these lives. We will be doing a live show later in the week. There was also a comment about Undisputed. Someone said on here that I think it was Hustleman that he couldn't beat Josh Taylor in Undisputed. We saw your comment there. We are going to be doing a little bit of an episode on Undisputed because there's an update. So stay tuned for that, anyone that games. And Brian, any final thoughts before we get up and out of here?
I'm going right to sleep as soon as we end this.
All right. Good night, guys.